Hello and welcome everyone to this GMN webinar. My name is Anton Rhodes. I am the project manager of the EC and IMO's global MTCC network project, the GMN. So the main purpose of this webinar today is to identify and discuss the barriers and opportunities for maritime energy efficiency technologies in Asia. Now, before we start, I'd like to provide some housekeeping. So first of all, the webinar is being recorded and the recording will be shared after the webinar on the GMN website. The webinar will run for approximately 1 hour, 30 minutes. Please use the Q&A window to ask any questions during the webinar. These questions will then be answered after the presentations during the Q&A session. So the meeting agenda is broken down as follows. First, we have 2 short introductory presentations, one on the GMN project and MTCC Asia, followed by a short overview of IMO's GHG initiatives. This will be followed by a presentation from MTCC Asia on barriers and opportunities for low zero carbon shipping. And the webinar will end finally with a panel discussion. So any questions that you have, you can either update in the Q&A as we go through the presentations, or you can leave them till the end and ask the presenters directly. The meeting is scheduled to finish at 4:30 China Standard Time. So let me introduce you to the speakers today. We have Joseph Theichel, Chief Department of Partnerships and Projects at IMO. We have Petra Ahari, GMN Project Officer. We have Georgi Gabin, Head Projects Implementation, Department of Partnerships and Projects, IMO. We have Wei Ruan, Head of MTCC Asia, Zhu Feng, Technical Officer at MTCC Asia, and Yasmin Hasni, who is the Principal Assistant Director, Marine Department, Malaysia. Before we begin, it should also be noted that the opinions expressed in this webinar are those of the presenters and may not necessarily represent the views of IMO or EC. Now with that, I'd like to invite Dr. Joseph Theichel to provide welcome remarks. Over to you, Jose.
Thank you, Anton. A good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you are. My name is Joseph Theichel, and I would like to thank the panelists and all the attendees here for your time to join this GMN webinar. Let me first bring you the greetings from the IMO, and especially from the Secretary General for being here. I will be very brief in my introduction. I don't need to say too much about the climate change issues, and I'm sure all of you are aware of the connection between emissions, GHG emissions, and the climate change. And as you know, the shipping is also part of that, and because shipping also has GHG emissions. And so the climate change is a challenge for the shipping too. And being the UN regulatory body for shipping, it is a challenge for IMO too. But this journey against the climate, fight against the climate change, we started many years back when IMO adopted the MAPO Annex 6, which mandated operational and design requirement for the ships. And further on, IMO continued the journey by adopting a GHG strategy, a very ambitious GHG strategy, which will cut 50% of the emissions by 2050, and with expectations of phasing out the emissions as early as possible in the century. And as of last week, you might have heard that IMO made another important milestone when the MEPC adopted further measures to add on to the MAPO Annex requirements with agreeing on a EEXI, energy efficiency existing ship index, and also the carbon intensity indicator, the CII, which will come into force by next year. And IMO has already also adopted a work plan on looking into the midterm and the long-term measures. So as you can see, we are progressing in the right direction. But one thing I'm sure you're aware that the path is very long, but the path is also common for all of us, which means we have to have the consideration for the requirement, the challenge of the developing countries, and especially the unique challenges of the SIDS and the LDCs. And that's where the role of MTCC is becoming important. And that's where, especially with respect to Asia, the MTCC Asia is all becoming important. The whole network of MTCCs has an important role to play to support the IMO GHG strategy. And hence, the role of these MTCCs in these regions are especially important as well. So I'm extremely glad to see MTCC organize this webinar to update what is happening with the MTCCs, what are the challenges of the regions, and it's a very timely event, and thank the organizers for this. And I would also like to thank the European Commission, European Union and EC for supporting this very, very important project over the many years. And we look forward to continuing the impact of MTCCs into the future. With that, let me thank the panelists and all the attendees of this webinar for your presence, and let's all work together and build a partnership. Thank you very much.
Fantastic, Jez. Thank you very much for joining and providing those welcome remarks. Hugely appreciated from all of us. Now, for our first presentation, Ms. Petra Ahari will give us a brief overview of the GMN project. Over to you, Petra.
Thank you, Anton, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Petra Ahari, and I'm the project officer of the Global MTCC Network. And I have the pleasure to introduce to you the GMN project and also MTCC Asia. So what is GMN? It's an European Union and IMO partnership project launched in 2016 with funding of 10 million euros. Essentially, EU has financed the project and IMO is responsible for the implementation. The GMN is focused on supporting least developed countries and the small island developing states to reduce GHG emissions from the shipping sector. And to achieve this objective, Maritime Technology Cooperation Centers, MTCCs, have been established in 5 developing regions: in Africa, in Asia, Caribbean, Latin America, and Pacific. Now, I think it's important to explain the GMN concept because it is different from the usual IMO approach to capacity building. Instead of activities and events being organized and controlled from IMO headquarters, the GMN approach is that a much greater level of responsibility is handed over to the participating regions. The MTCCs manage their own budgets, they develop and implement their own work plans, and employ their own staff. And by taking this approach, we are helping to institutionalize capacity building at the local level. And it should be emphasized that the project has created more ownership and has already achieved far more than was originally foreseen. And based on the feedback from participating countries, the centers are a great success and are looked at as a new way of undertaking regional cooperation. Now, I would like to give you an idea of the level of activity of the project. Since its launch in 2017, the GMN has completed well over 50 capacity building workshops with 2,000 plus attendees receiving training and advice on maritime GHG reduction issues. Each of the centers has successfully completed technology and data collection pilot projects, which covered, for example, the retrofitting of vessels with energy-saving technology, using AI for ship term optimization, improved lighting system at ports, and shorter ship power supply. And it's also worth noting that the GMN has expanded and includes branch offices in Myanmar, Cambodia, and Samoa. So this was a brief overview of the project, and now I would like to shine a spotlight on MTCC Asia to give you a clearer picture of what they have achieved in the region. So the MTCC Asia team is based within dedicated offices at the Shanghai Maritime University, which is the host institution. The center became operational in December of 2016. The key achievements of MTCC Asia was the successful implementation of 2 pilot projects. And these pilots focused on uptake of ship energy efficient technologies and operations and fuel consumption data collection and reporting. And our MTCC colleagues will provide further details regarding some of the highlights of the pilot project results. But in addition to this, the center has also completed a number of innovative and knowledge building activities. First is leveraging leading maritime technologies for GHG reduction. Second category is creating a knowledge bank to serve as an education hub. And third is creating a platform to encourage an exchange and insight on sharing of technologies. Now, taken in isolation, any of these achievements would be considerable assistance to the region. Taken collectively, they represent a major step to being able to reduce shipping emissions across the region. Now, what has been the key behind MTCC Asia's success? The simple answer is that the team has been very effective in establishing strong relationships with key partners across the region. Through government and industry focal points, the center has been working on a day-to-day basis with shipping agents, with port authorities, maritime authorities, cruise lines, and other stakeholders. And as this diagram suggests, MTCC Asia is at the center of an extensive maritime network. And I will conclude by noting that the work of the center has created an essential foundation on which future initiatives in the region can be built. Thank you, and back to you, Anton.
Excellent. Petra, thank you very much for your presentation. We now move to the next presentation by the IMO's Ms. Georgi Gaban, who will briefly introduce the GHG initiatives that are currently being implemented or due to be implemented by IMO. So over to you, Georgi.
Thank you very much. Can you see the opening slide?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. This is just to give a quick overview of where GMN sits within the IMO's GHG projects portfolio and our overall work. Sorry, I had a technical glitch there, but all solved. So just gave already a very brief overview, and I'm aware that you are all experts in GHG regulatory framework of IMO. So I'm not going to go into too much of the details either, but just to remind ourselves that, of course, the overall aim of the project is to support the implementation of the initial GHG strategy and beyond, because many times we think that IMO regulatory framework started in 2018 on GHG issues, but indeed it was already before. So the work started earlier already when IMO started adopting mandatory energy efficiency regulations and rules for ships. And that is being strengthened every year, so it's becoming more stringent and stringent, just like recently as well. And we have also the IMO data collection system, which has been also worked on over the years, and the overarching framework that sets out the ambition and the roadmap is the initial GHG strategy. Now, just to recap also that the last 2 MEPCs have been really crucial. So we have the fuel consumption data collection system data that came out. We also have the GHG study, the 4th GHG study that provides us very good numbers also to look at that in which direction the industry is going. And of course, while during the current MEPC, so we just finished last week, they have agreed on some short-term measures to reduce the carbon intensity further. We all know that the actual revision of the initial GHG strategy with a very, very intensive roadmap between now, and I mean roadmap of meetings between now and 2022 is ahead of us. So we will see some exciting times ahead for the regulatory negotiations, which I think is interest for all of us to closely follow. So we all know that there are different technical and operational elements of reducing the GHG emissions of ships. Just to add to this graph, which I really love because I think it's a very nice overview of the various potential technical solutions, is that it cannot be done just at the ships. And I think this is one key lesson that we learned over the GHG project implementation, that there's a close cooperation need between the ports and the ships and even beyond, so across the maritime value chain, in order to make a real difference. So the way I mentioned, GMN is one of our ongoing GHG projects. I would say that it has been ongoing hand in hand with the Green Voyage project. So both of the projects are global projects, but they are approaching the GHG emission reduction and the transition of the maritime industry from a slightly different perspective. So Green Voyage focused on developing the so-called NEPs, so the various regulatory frameworks to implement the GHG strategy on a national level. And afterwards, now they are at the stage that in the countries that already participated in the first project, which was called GLOMIP, now they aim to have some demonstration projects. GMN, Petra very nicely presented, so I'm not going to go into the details. It takes a different perspective, and I would say that here the novel and the innovative part of the project is really the work of the centers and working closer to the countries and achieving regional cooperation and exchange of best practices and lessons learned, common challenges and ways to address these through also some concrete smaller scale demonstration projects. We also have two new projects here. So the GHG Smart, which just operationalized this year. And this one is focusing solely on least developed countries and small island developing states. And the aim of this project, which is supported by the Republic of Korea, is to develop a training program that will be very specific for the needs of LDCs and SIDS. So we have done quite a few previous trainings and capacity buildings, both through Green Voyage and through GMN. But here we would like to develop something specifically targeting the needs of the LDCs and the SIDS. We will also have a very interesting event coming up, the Innovation Forum, which is supported by the government of Norway and that we are organizing together with UNEP. Here we only really agreed on the overview of the forum by the first steering committee, but now we will have our next steering committee soon, 1st of July, if I remember well. And the overall objective of the forum is to bring together the various stakeholders, including from developing countries, as these type of events happen more often in the Western Northern world, if I may say, and to have an open discussion on what are the innovation needs beyond R&D. So here what we would like to look at is also that what are the other things that enable innovation, let it be science policy interface or innovative financial solutions. And this is where I didn't put on the list of projects because it's not a project per se, but it's a initiative that IMO does together with EBRD and World Bank, putting in our own human and financial resources, is a roundtable we are organizing with the World Bank and EBRD called FinSmart Roundtable. And this roundtable aims to bring together the donors, the countries that are beneficiaries right now of IMO projects, as well as key international financial institutions to discuss some potential solutions, financial solutions to bring in the money really to decarbonization of the maritime, to look at that, what are the challenges and what are the risks, the investment risks, and how we could overcome these. So these are the key GHG initiatives and projects going on right now. And I'm very grateful and thankful for the MTCC Asia who is involved in also in the initial part of GHG Smart, where we are asking the lessons learned from the MTCC Asia about technological needs of LDCs and seeds, and also involvement in the Innovation Forum and in the FinSmart. And just to mention one more project, which is still in a preparatory phase, so it's not a full-fledged project yet, but we have recently received a confirmation from the German government that they are going to finance the preparation of a full-fledged project between now and the end of the year to look. It's going to be called Blue Solutions, Asia Maritime Transport Emissions Project, to look at both the maritime, including the port and the hinterland transport decarbonization needs of participating countries, and have a few demonstration projects in relation to this. And the participating countries are going to be China, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam, with the knowledge sharing partners of Japan, Republic of Korea, and Singapore. So this is something that I would just like to raise the attention to the attention of the participants. The kickoff meeting of this project is going to take place next week. I believe that the MTCC Asia was already invited and in the preparatory phase will be consulted. But what I would like to encourage you, that in case you would like to learn more of any of these additional projects or initiatives, please do contact us. So whoever you feel comfortable to contact with from the GMN or IMO team, please reach out to us, and we will make sure that we involve you or share with you more information in case that has not been done yet. Finally, I would just like to point out a few issues that were common in all the projects, or we learned through the implementation. One I already mentioned, we have to move away from looking at solely at ship decarbonization, because we have to realize the interlinkages that are there between the ports and also the fuel or energy industry. So basically action needs to be done throughout the maritime value chain. We've also seen great success in by the Green Voyage by developing these national action plans, and it created a lot of ownership on the national level. GMN at the same time has showcased how important regional cooperation is and how well the MTCCs are functioning in creating ownership. We have also seen that the the crucial 3 points for the future really is how to support innovation needs of the maritime decarbonization. Noting that this is not only R&D, so the way I mentioned the issues that will be discussed also in the innovation forum. So this also includes financial innovation, which links us very closely to the huge investment needs in maritime decarbonization for the future, for which it will be key to have more projects, but we also have to be knowledgeable of the fact that projects alone are not going to make the difference. So we will need to make sure that in all the future projects, we are also already having elements that enable us to reach out to the IFIs and to the private sector to come up with additional bankable proposals and to bring in also private investment. And finally, last but not least, the ones who were listening to the MEPC discussions last week, they will also note how much has been said about the special needs of LDCs and particularly for maritime seeds. So we need to understand more these special needs, and we need to make sure that we can address these through capacity building activities. Thank you very much.
Georgi, thank you very much for your presentation. Now I'd like to give the floor to our MTCC Asia colleagues who are going to focus on, what is the main body of the webinar, looking at barriers and opportunities for low zero carbon shipping in Asia. So over to you, Weiran and team.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jules and Anton and all colleagues in London, and good afternoon, good morning to all the participants from the world, I think not only in Asia countries. Thank you very much. First of all, let me thank on behalf of MTCC Asia the continuous and great work done by the IMO and the PCUs from IMO as well for all the work we have done over in the past 4 years, actually, since the establishment of MTCC Asia. Thank you once again, Dr. Juice, for the great, your great idea of, establishing such a great organization, so-called GMN, with such fruitful outcomes. And also thank the great support from IMO and also EU for the professional and also financial support for this program, which enable us to work closely with the regional partners in Asia. And also we thank as well the great cooperations we received from the region, those countries like Cambodia and Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, etc., etc. So it's really very very impressive and also productive, over the years. So I would like to do part of this presentation, and also the other part will be accomplished by my colleague, Professor Zhou from the MTCC Asia and also the university as well. As Miss Petra mentioned in her presentation, in her introduction, that the MTCC Asia is hosted, jointly by IMO and also the university. So we are located in Shanghai, where you can see quite booming maritime industry, shipping industry here. So it means that over the years, we received not only the sponsorship from IMO, I mean, as a professional support, but also we received the support from the municipal government of Shanghai, in particular the cluster of a shipping industry in Shanghai. So that's why we believe it's very important for the smooth operation of this MTCC Asia, because in Shanghai, we have a large amount of ship calls and fleets and a series of shipping services here. So it's really very important for those kind of facilities. Okay, so we are based on a university, and here you can see a part of our team, colleagues here over there. And we also work closely with MSA and the universities. Yes, so that's the basic information. And the method, or let's say the approach for the implementation of this project in MTCC Asia is actually very much comprehensive. First, we deem it very important to have very advanced technologies relating to the GHGs. So that's why, as Patrick mentioned, that we conducted not only 2 pilot projects, but also the other technologies, and also the standards, proposals, and also the white papers, things like that. So, but I'm not going to go to more details about the technologies, because Professor Zhou will cover this in his presentation. And also we organized as well the high level professional, I'm sorry, not professor, professional meetings and conferences in Shanghai, and also in Asian countries, our partner countries. We have done a series of meetings and conferences like that. We're focusing on the GHG reduction technology, also the management, and also legislations, etc., etc. And also, thirdly, we conducted quality capacity building programs. We have done also, every year we have done, it's really very much productive, and more than 400 participants educated and trained, through these programs under the leadership and the support from IMO. So this is also very important element for the method. And something special here is that we conducted also the postgraduate programs. We provide full scholarships to those students, let's say the graduates from the shipping industry in those Asian countries. They are students, yes, but they are not only a student, but also a professional administrators, let's say. So we received over the years more than 15 students from those countries like Sri Lanka, like Cambodia, etc. And it has been evidenced that we have achieved a great success in this respect, because because the students are very much professional. They are qualified for the tailor-made courses for GHG, studies in the university. So we will continue to conduct this program. We think it's very useful to provide a long-term study program or middle-term study program. So we will do it. And of course, lastly, the approach for us is we conducted the wide international and regional cooperations with regional countries. So those 5 elements basically are the very important for the successful implementation of this program. So in terms of maritime GHG technologies, I would like to introduce, extend a little bit more, based on Petra's introduction, that we devised a computer software based on the big data and also machine learning technologies that try to find out the optimized position points for the ships, so that with this facility, with this technology, that people, the seafarers, operators, they can find out the optimum point of the ship for trimming, so that the ship, the resistance of the ship can be reduced, so that the fuel oil can be, cut down, or consumption will be cut down. So that's very good. From the initiative of this, the initial idea of this facility is that all the ships can install this software, free of charge. So it could be widely applicable, applied on board the some Asian countries with small tonnage and also aged fleets. So that's why we would like to use this facility. And also we also put another pilot project for data collection, fuel oil consumption, together with this facility. So that's our consideration, the idea of the designing. And over the years, we have been investing also into the construction and operation of the global ship energy efficiency monitoring and supervision system like this. So based on the AIS technologies and other information, big data, etc., and also the computation technologies, we maintained a good system for that, so that we can monitor the emission of GHG from the ships from the world. And also it has a great potential for the assessment for future. So we are still maintain every year. We are still maintaining the system. Yeah, this is something more about the technology. And for quality capacity building programs, so we did a lot. But something more we would like to report at this point, at this moment, is even in the period of the COVID-19, we applied modern technologies. Let's say the modern virtual technologies, and also the modern pedagogics to create a vivid scenario for the participants in online, online participants from different countries. We conducted quite a lot of the quality capacity building programs, and these are the the pictures taken on the thing, So this is yeah, this is the. And lastly, that in MTC Asia we outreached to the very important programs as Gilgia, right? I'm sorry for my poor pronunciation. Like the other international programs for GHG reduction, like the ASEAN Maritime Cooperation Smart, UNDP, Next Gen by Singapore, and also other innovation forum, Green Voyage, etc., etc. So we are very much happy and also very much honored to be involved in this kind of activities, for GHG. So we hope that MTC Asia, under the leadership of IMO and the support and sponsorship of EU, we can make more contributions to the implementation of IMO initial strategy for GHG from the ships. Okay, so that's my part. I think I would like to invite Professor Zhou to continue to report the technologies and also barriers, needs, etc., etc. Thank you very much. Professor Zhou, over to you.
Okay, dear all, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Good day to all. My name is Zhou Feng. I'm very happy to introduce the second part of this slide. It's about the overview of ship energy efficiency technology in Asia region. Actually, this part is mainly about the general situation of energy efficiency technology application in this Asia. And most of the information are taken from our national report that we did 2 years ago. We have finished the 5 national reports for 5 countries, namely Cambodia, Indonesia, China, Myanmar, and Bangladesh. So some of the information are from these 5 national reports. In order to understand the general situation of energy efficiency technology that are applied for Asian fleet, we have to have a general view of the national fleet profile of Asian economies. For instance, this slide just generally show us the national fleet share of Asian nation among the water total. The Asia fleet takes a total share of 25% of the water totals. And as we can see, among the 5 main types of ships, general cargo ship takes the highest share of the main ship types, which reaches 35% of the world total general cargo ships. And for the ship ages, we can see that for those new ships, most of them are large vessels. And for ships more than 20 years old, they are relatively small vessels. And for ships in Asia, in this table, we could see that most of those vessels are more than 20 years old. And this bar is relatively remarkable, which for which are ships of 5 to 9 years old takes a share of 20%. So there are also some new ships, but the share is not relatively high. And for the port side, we could see that the port industry in Asia is very important, and the port of Asia economy are in the center of the world port network, and we know that most of the large ports are located in Asia region. So combine the previous 3 slides, we could realize that the emission reduction for Asia nations are very, very important, and there are more work for them to do. So based on the general understanding, we realize that the application of energy efficient technology in Asia can be catalyzed into 2 categories. The first one is parties to MARPOL Annex 6. For those nations, the national policy and incentive measures have been developed yet in order to encourage vessels to adopt technical and operational energy efficiency measures. For instance, these nations include China, Indonesia, and Malaysia, etc. Another important finding based on our national report is that for large ship owners and operators, they are actively to try energy efficiency technologies, and they also establish some testing programmers among their fleet in order to find which are the best energy efficiency measures which could be widely used among their fleet in order to cut cost and also reduce GHG emissions. And currently, for parties which are MARPOL Annex 6 members, the public awareness on the importance of emission control and the available energy efficiency technology have reached a very high level. There are many research institutes actually in those countries which are focusing on the research of energy efficiency measures. Generally speaking, for those countries, the most widely used EE measures includes 2 parts. The first one are operational measures. These measures consist of, for instance, weather routing. This one is widely used almost on all new large vessels which engage in international voyage. The second one is optimal trim. This one is mainly used for container vessels, and the fuel saving and emission reduction by this measure is very significant, and most shipping company has realized the importance of this technology. This one is very easy to use for seafarers on board vessel. So ship owner and the players pay quite a lot of attention on the research of these technologies in order to identify the best trim for different types of vessels. And MTCC Asia also conduct a pilot project on this technology, and we provide quite a lot of technical support for some shipping companies. The third one is speed optimization, for most of the ship players and the seafarers, they know that speed have a close relation with the fuel consumption, and the theory is quite straightforward. So most of the vessels use this technology. And the fourth one is slow steaming. The second type energy efficiency measures is technical measures. For these measures, the typical measure include optimal hull design, the coating measures, propeller optimization, and the main engine optimizations. Over the almost 4 years, we mainly focus on the operation measures, operational measures. For technical measures, we did some research, but this just in-house research, and we are still lack of some practical experience on this type of measures. And in Asia region, we realized that ship owner has begun to show some interest, also showing some interest in alternative fuels like LNG and ammonia, etc. And they began to use LNG as fuel, as clean fuel to meet the IMO MARPOL Annex 6 NOx Tier 3 requirement. And shore power are currently used to reduce emission in the port areas. The shore power in the utilization of shore power currently in China is quite widely used. Import, according to the offshore data, it's reported that 70% of our port has installed shore power system to supply shore electricity for vessels. So the coverage of shore power installation in China currently has reached a very high level. For the second types of nations in Asia which have not ratified MARPOL Annex 6, we realized that the application of ship energy efficiency technology right now mainly depends on the willingness of ship owner and operators. So there are lack of some pushings on them to adopt energy efficiency measures. And the application of the EE technologies are mainly focusing on the operational measures, which are easy to use, and the investments in this technology are relatively low for them. So it's the risk control is relatively easy for the application of this type of technologies. Another finding is that owing to the relatively small ship size and limited available navigation waters, the options of operational EE measures are also very limited for them. And the fourth finding is a lack of national policy and incentive measures lead to a weak strength on the promotion of energy efficiency technology application for those countries. For instance, this table gives us a general view on the on the components of ships or national fleets of Cambodia. We see that most of their vessels are relatively small vessels, which are under 50,000 tonnage registered in Cambodia. Now let's have a look at the barrier analysis. For barriers, we found that the lack of national policy or promotion measure are quite common among Asian countries. This lead to ship players being increasingly slack to mitigate GHG emissions. For instance, the application of a shore power system. If there are no promotion measure like subsidiary seeds, subsidies, the installation of a shore power system is quite hard for the port side. And some nations have difficulties and still struggle to ratify MARPOL Annex 6 due to the lack of personnel, budgets, and also relatively complicated national legal process, which prevent the ratification of MARPOL Annex 6. And this picture gives those nations which have ratified MARPOL Annex 6 in Asia region. These are the 5 nations that we have finished the national report, their situation on the ratification of MARPOL Annex 6. Many ships are more than 20 years old and small in size, which lead to them to fail to implement some of the new technology on these ships. The lack of technologies and the low level of public awareness on GHG mitigation measure prevent the effective implementation of GHG mitigation requirements in different nations. And this situation is quite common. Some countries still have some challenges in monitoring the performance of ocean-going vessels in sea voyages. Based on the barrier analysis, the proposed action and the opportunity from our point of view can be summarized into 6 points. In the future, we need to continue to conduct capacity building and human resource development program in maritime sector for effective GHG control and ship EE promotion. We need to accelerate technology transfer on energy efficiency measures for maritime ship. Try to assist in developing national maritime legislation in order to help those countries to ratify MAP Annex 6 in a quickly measure. We need to actively promote environmental awareness in the whole society, especially for those countries who are not parties to MAP Annex 6. We need to encourage the upgrade of green technology being used on board and the replacement of old with new environment-friendly vessels through interesting financial program to improve shipping company performance on GHG control and ship energy efficiency. Of course, those technology have to be more realistic and practical. We need to continue to promote great technology uptake and digitalization. I try to use the modern information technology to assist those nations to realize the general situation and how important of their national fleets to reduce GHG emission. These are the proposed action for MTCC Asia, and also our opportunity, what we can do in the future. And we we also did some work, try to help Asian nations to mitigate their GHG emission through our pilot project. One is, as we have introduced, is trip optimization, and we have shared our fundings to some shipping company and ship managers in Asian nation, and also we disseminate this guideline through our contact points. And also we shared our knowledge on the ship data collection and the reporting scheme 3 years ago. So for the future, we will do more similar projects in order to raise the technology which are available for shipping players to control GHG emission more effectively. Okay, for this part, I would like to invite Professor Wei Ruan continue with the introduction. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Zhou, for your presentation, and would like to continue with one more slide, actually. Okay, you just switch it. You just switch. You leave the screen, and I will do it.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so the barriers and analysis are that Professor Zhou has done is based on, from my point of view, limited information and source of information, because we found it's difficult sometimes to collect the data, and also including the fleet information, facility information, and also the policies, etc., etc. So it's sometimes quite limited. I mean, but we believe that the analysis represents, by and large, the current situation in the region for those countries. So you may notice also that there are some similarities in those areas for those countries, for instance. They have similar challenges, similar problems, maybe. So it will guide us, very importantly, the actions for them. So finally, we would like to propose the following actions. First of all, of course, we have to continuously keep good communication and cooperation with those countries for their purpose. For capacity building purpose, we would like to focus on the following aspects. The first is in the future training or capacity building program, that we would like to focus on more practical GHG related operations. We have to give them very clear and very practicable and realistic guidelines for the operations on board ships, in particular in those aged sometimes. Some GHG technologies are only applicable to modern ships, but it's not workable for those countries, not for those fleets. So we have to, give them practical, the guidelines, guidance for the GHG reductions operations. So this is very important. Secondly, we would like to concentrate on the skills and techniques for maritime legislations, policy making, and also strategic planning. We think this is very important, for management level and maritime administrators for those countries. It's something like to teach them how to fish, something like that. The legislation, maritime standards, legislations are the fundamental factors for the GHG reductions. Thirdly, we would like to use case study methodologies by conduct joint researches, in the capacity building programs. We should not only just teach them in the classroom, we have to stimulate them to work with us together for a specific topic in a way of research. And lastly, we will of course enhance the field study and field implementations, enforcement. But this can only be done after the COVID-19, when we can conduct the physical, training programs. So this is what we would like to propose for the capacity building programs. For technologies, the general principle is, from MTCC Asia's point of view, that the current GHG reductions, the measures, have to be tailor-made and adapted according to the special needs of the country, of the region, and also of the fleet. So we would like to, considering as I said, the similarities, the similar problems or challenges faced by those countries in this region, those least LDCs countries, for instance, then we would like to introduce to them in future. First of all, is streaming optimization. As I said, it's just the software. The software can be shared, can be trained, but of course, before using it, we have to train. We have to train the data and the system. So this is the first choice from my point of view, because we already there, you know, it's quite cost effective, because the system relies on simply the data. The second is JIT. It's a kind of management scheme, but in MTCC Asia, what we would like to use for the JIT technology is also based on not only the idea, but also the technologies, the information technologies, the planning strategies. So we will use this system as well. Of course, but we have also, you know, to tailor make this technology according to the port, the special port. The third choice is, of course, we also have to use the related practical GHG reduction operations on board, like voyage planning, main engine conversion and operations, etc., etc. So we can send our technical person to help those fleets and also the operators to make such to use such technologies. Finally, as I said, that let's say we think also the management schemes, like for instance, ACA control area, so the emission, ECA, emission controlling area, like maritime legislations and policies can also be a kind of so-called technologies for the reduction of the GHGs. So those are our considerations for the technical aspects for the GHG. And also we would like to propose to use a modern technologies, as I said, the global GHG reduction, and ship energy efficiency monitoring system by using, as I said, AIS IT technologies to monitor the system. So as the performance of those countries. As Professor Zhou mentioned, those countries, they do not have a strong national fleet. They do not have quite, you know, large quantity of the coastal shipping activity. But from the GHG reductions point of view, that we have to control, we have to exercise the controlling, monitoring and controls also over these areas, in particular to those international voyages. So we use this system because this system, you know, we can also realize this purpose. Okay, so finally, of course, the legislation. Again, legislation is important, in particular in those countries not ratified the MARPOL Annex 6. So sometimes in the area, like we did receive a request or an invitation from a certain country like Sri Lanka, for instance, to help them to build up or to optimize their GHG reduction legislations in a certain ports or area. So we are facing with those needs actually. So this is the proposed actions for future for those areas after the analysis on the needs and the barriers of those countries. Okay, thank you. That's all from us for the presentation. And by this opportunity, I would please allow me to invite you to join us in on 11th July for the conference, and this activity is also sponsored by IMO and the EU, and we received a very strong professional guidance from PCU, Anton, Petro, and Melanie for their very strong support professional. So we are going to have this one, and you will see that many maritime specialists for GHG reduction, and also we invited more than 20 technology providers for that purpose. And the technology providers consist of port operators like SIPG, like Port of Antwerp, and what else? Port of Busan as well, Korea, and the shipping companies like BSM and Shuttle Group. I don't know what is the pronunciation for that. Costco and China Merchant Group, etc., etc., etc. And also we have main engine manufacturers like Wärtsilä, etc., etc. So welcome all of you to join us. I mean the conference, and that's all. Thank you very much. I will leave it to Mr. Anton. Thank you very much, Mr. Anton, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Wei Ran. Thank you, MTCC Asia, for that overview of the situation in Asia, and for also giving details on MTCC activities to support the region. That leads very nicely into our panel discussion. So for participants, if you have questions, please do send them through. I see that we've received one. We have some questions already prepared for panel speakers as well. And I think we'll kick off with a question for Dr. Yasmin, who's been waiting very patiently. Thank you, Yasmin, to participate. So Yasmin, how do you compare the importance of GHG emissions from ocean-going ships, coastal ships, and ports, in particular for those countries with less ocean-going ships, but large number of coastal ships? And what would be the technologies recommended to those particular maritime countries? So Dr. Yasmin, over to you.
Thank you, Anton. Can you hear me very well?
Very clearly, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the questions. So, in my opinion, for Malaysia, as part of ASEA, we have quite a large representation of this fleet that is on near coastal. So, in my opinion, how can we encourage greenhouse GHG, encourage the technology? So we need to adapt to the local situation. Like in Malaysia, how we practice this, we are more on operations. The low-hanging fruits, the operational measures for our situation, just to actually be part of the greenhouse GHG emissions, since and we move next to have a standard operating procedures where our administration would practice and encourage all the owners have to be part of it. So we regulate them from a standard SOPs. So this is how we work steps by step, the small steps at a time, because it's not easy considering the situation where we are at. When we first start, we start with IMO, with the Below Me project. It seems like it's very much in place, and it's reachable to actually arrive to the MAPA Annex 6 targets, but when we consider the local situation, we need to actually have something that is more localized, and we need to approach it as it comes and always to enhance. That's why I agree with where we are. We need to always have that capacity building, sharing good practices, and see how we can actually improve things. Because like for example, in Malaysia, I noticed when we did our national data collection, we experiences something slightly different, where we need to actually tackle the operational measures more, because we have more of the near coastal fleets, and then we have like a standard operation. We encourage them to actually have the IEC regardless. This doesn't need that they have to be on international voyages. We encourage all our Malaysian fleet to actually have that certificate. So that, but we practice this. We are not yet in the national legislation, but we have that in our SOP. So they have to actually abide by that, and we audit them, and we encourage this ship owners. So these are the small steps that Malaysia has taken, and we always keep ourselves abreast with the knowledge. We receive a lot of assistance from MTCC Asia. The work that MTCC Asia has actually worked on in the joint research, in the collaborative program, it has helped us a lot. And then they have also sponsored our offices, and these are the small things that it all contributed to a bigger picture. So in the end of the day, we do arrive there, but it not necessarily be what the global have projected, but we do actually are arriving to where our target is. So that will be for me. Anton, that'll be all for me. Over to you.
Great, thank you, Yasmin. Apologies, I lost connection for a minute there, but I am back. Yasmin, thank you very much for your country perspective. It was good to hear about the Malaysia perspective on this. Please bear with me because I've just had to reconnect to webinar. We have a question for MTCC. Let me get that quickly. So I think this one is best for Weiran. To decarbonize shipping, broader vision is required, and a life cycle perspective must take into consideration, as the ship has 3 phases of design, construction, operation, recycling. Does MTCC Asia have any plan to consider decarbonization of shipbuilding at shipyards or the recycling yard?
Okay, thank you, Chairman Anton, and thank the Mr. Vakili, right? Thank you very much for the question. Yes, of course, MTCC Asia as a IMO-sponsored agency organization, we are tasked to handle the decarbonization from the shipping, from ships. So as you mentioned in your question, of course, well, fully agree with you that the decarbonization for the whole life period of the ship is important, is necessary. So we will, of course, we'll be covering this topic, this aspect as well. But I think, but this decarbonization in the shipbuilding, in the shipyards, is something that we should handle. I mean, in about 3 years later, which means the industry is also discussing about the ship recycling conventions, etc., etc. So we will cover this definitely, but it has to be, for instance, 2 to 3 years later. We will do that. By the way, your question is very much conductive. Thank you. Because in MTCC Asia, you are right. I fully agree with you that for decarbonization of the shipping industry, that we may also rely on the intelligent ships as well. So it means that decarbonization actually is a big concept, a big topic for the whole industry, covering, as you mentioned, that in the shipping industry as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'd like to ask Georgi a question now, as this is quite IMO focused. So with the existing and forthcoming projects on GHG reduction, how do you ensure there is synergy of projects and no duplication of efforts?
Thank you. So first of all, maybe to start, there's such a huge decarbonization need that even if we would have duplication, I think we would not cover everything. So the more projects, the merrier, even if they are in the same region or in the same country. But if I may also give a more concrete reply, the two long-standing IMO success projects in GHG are the GMN project and the GLOMIP, and now its continuation, the Green Voyage. So I'm sure you are aware that there has been, in practical terms, linkages made both in between the two PCUs and also involving each other in each other's relevant bits of work, but noting that the two projects have a very different approach and perspective, which I believe are greatly benefit each other. Now, there's also one practical way of ensuring, which is a bit of myself. So as the head of projects and partnerships, I'm ensuring myself that I'm involved in all the projects. So if the project officers or the teams wouldn't by themselves realize that there are some links, then I encourage them and I participate in all the GHG projects and oversee them. And also the MTCCs have a very strong role in this. And the way I said also in the presentation, I'm very grateful actually that you take on these additional roles in the other projects. So the MTCC directors were consulted and interviewed both for the GHG Smart project. You have been involved in the Fin Smart Roundtable, so the one I mentioned, the roundtable, which is aiming to bring on financial solutions with the involvement of the key IFIs. And I can already warn you that you will be also consulted and sought out for the upcoming Blue Solutions Asia project, MTCC Asia. So I think that this is a very practical but well-working way of ensuring that there are synergies, that we involve in all the projects and we build on the technical expertise and on the achievements of the MTCCs.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Georgi. We have a question and I'd like to direct it to Mr. Zhu Feng. And this relates to cold ironing, shorter ship power supply. So to what degree has the region started to embrace this particular energy efficiency measure at ports? From the perspective of MTC Asia, is this something that is now being widely practiced, or it's intended that this might be widely practiced in the future? Do you have any comments on that?
Okay, thank you, Anton. With regard to cold iron systems, currently, I would like to give you an example in China. So there currently, China try to use cold iron as the main solution to reduce ship emission in the port areas. In May, according to the data from MSA China, 17% of the berths in China port has covered with cold iron system. So through this data, I think you could see this technology is deemed as a very important solution right now in order to reduce GHG or noxic emission from ships in Asian regions. And right now there are still some, still some experts who are doubting about how effective are these measures to reduce emission. But even there are a lot of questions. The strains on these measures are not reduced at all. And many ships try which berths in China port try to use these measures. So based on these cases, MTCC Asia try to gradually realize that shore power might be the solution to reduce emission immediately compared with other measures, especially in the port areas. So I think these measures is effective and useful to reduce emission in port areas, and could be widely. Yeah.
Thank you, Zhu. Yes, Weiran. Yes.
Thank you, Anton. Thank you, Chairman. Sorry for my intervention. First of all, thank the answers from Professor Zhou. I think what I want to intervene is that, okay, the shore power, the cold iron is a good solution, but secondly, it has to be carefully evaluated. That's, I think, what we have observed. So many, a lot of economic considerations as well as technical challenges as well. So, so what I want to say is briefly, very briefly is yes, it is a solution, but before apply this technology, you have to be careful and you have to evaluate and assess this, the technology. Okay?
Understood. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, constraint of time. I don't want to.
Yes. We could talk on any of these topics for a very long time. We're already over the allotted time. So I'd just like to ask two more questions. The first relates to MTCC Asia, and one of the participants is asking if there's a possibility for further expansion of the MTCC Asia. He makes the point that it's at the moment very southeast focused. Is there a possibility for going further west in terms of MTCC scope?
Okay. let me try first there, Anton. Thank you very much. I think, yes, of course, for MTCC Asia is also, tasked once again by IMO for the reduction of the GHG emissions from the ships. So we realized that there is also a need in the Western Asia area. So we need, of course, our services, our activities should cover, that area as well. So yes, we are willing to expand to those areas, but of course under the leadership of IMO and also the PCUs from IMO.
Thank you, Eran. A quick question, Georgi, from the IMO side, is there anything planned on COVID and adaptation, related to COVID? Is this something that's being considered?
Yes, I mean, it's a common challenge for not only for all of our projects, but I think for all our lives. So, of course, our whole life is a COVID adaptation plan right now. In concrete terms, what have been done, as you know, is the extension of our project. So this includes also the GMN project and looking into innovative new ways of operating with these virtual meetings and new ways looking more into train the trainers approaches even more for capacity building. And these will continue, I'm afraid, until globally we will be in a better shape. And of course, it has been also shown that this shouldn't stop us in looking into the continuation of the project and looking into the sustainability of the project. Now, of course, this is a bit also harder without being able to have meetings with the donors in person. But I think that so far we have been operating quite well virtually in all cases. And I'm really thankful also to the MTCCs and to all the participants here today, because I think that virtual meetings are even more of a commitment than real person meetings in a time when we are all packed with so many virtual meetings that we have a bit of a virtual meeting fatigue. So thanks a lot for all of you being here with your continued interest. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks very much. Yeah, unfortunately, we've run out of time. We're already over the 4:30 China Eastern time. So I'd like to extend a huge thank you to the speakers and panelists for their great contribution. And I'd like to thank the audience for participation. The vast majority stayed with us right throughout from start to end, so really appreciate that. I hope you found the webinar informative. I hope you're a bit more knowledgeable in terms of what are the barriers, opportunities, and the energy efficiency context. I remind you that the recording and presentations from today will be posted on the GMN website. So please go to the website if you want to refer back to anything you've seen today. Also, a quick reminder that we're undertaking regional webinars also for Pacific, Africa, and Caribbean regions. So if you have any interest in these regions on the same topic, then please do visit the other webinars. For details on the timing, dates, you can just go to the GMN website. Everything is there for you to register. If you'd like to find out more about GMN or MTCC Asia, then please visit the respective websites, gmn@imo.org. If you want more detailed information, then please feel free to contact the project team. You can email us directly at gmn@imo.org. So thank you very much for your time, and we appreciate everyone has busy schedules and it's not easy to put aside so much time for this type of event. So a massive thank you for doing so. And I wish you all a very nice day, a very nice evening, very much, and goodbye.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Goodbye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Melanie. Thank you, Petra. Thank you.